Python is everywhere. I mean, literally everywhere, especially with the hype around AI, is even dethroned JavaScript for the first time as the most popular language on GitHub.
This year, Python outranked JavaScript as the most widely used language on GitHub across all work.
But let's be honest, making Python works everywhere is painful because there are way too many tools for Python installation, package management, virtual environments, project management. Nothing is built in within the ecosystem. For the past few years, my Python workflow has mostly revolved around using container like dev container for development and isolation and Poetry for package management. It worked, but it was just meh. And now there is UV, a new package manager which is pushing the boundaries. And if by the end of this video you're not convinced to start using UV, well, you might as well just stop using Python together. Because UV fixes so many things that I used to hate about Python. So let's jump into it. So UV is an incredibly fast Python package and project manager written in Rust. It's getting massive traction with 16 million downloads per month on PyPI and capturing more than 10% of PyPI's market share. And I actually checked the recent data and they passed the 25 million in October, which is mind-blowing. And another mind-blowing thing is that the project is less than a year old. Its first release is from February 2024. I mean, at this point, Charlie, I'm starting to suspect you're just a secret AGI and your first task was to fix Python, which is a noble task, by the way. So yes, like many popular Python libraries these days, it follows the trends, let's rewrite it in Rust and make it faster. It's a smart strategy. Rust offers excellent performance and creating bindings with Python's works seamlessly, so end user don't need to understand what a borrow checker is. But beyond the speed, UV is a game changer because it consolidates everything. Instead of juggling a gazillion tools to manage your Python projects, you now have one tool to roll them all. And from the founder of Astral, the company behind UV, here's how they describe it.
One is just like the scope of what we're trying to do. So I mentioned this before, or hinted at least, like Python tooling is very fragmented. And I think of that in like two ways. One is for anything you want to do, there's like a bunch of different options and it's very hard to choose and know which one you should use. And the second dimension is like for anything that you're trying to do that's non-trivial, you have to like chain together a bunch of tools. And for UV, it's meant to be like a totally unified stack. So we didn't like build on top of anything else, right? We didn't like build on top of pip or inherit any of the baggage that comes from existing Python tooling. We built like everything from scratch.
So basically UV managed Python installation, virtual environments, and package installation, and project management, all in one tool, and it's 10 to 100 times faster than existing solution. And up talking, let's dive into the real meat of this. So I'm on macOS on an M1 chip, and actually I'm running in a dev container, which is a Debian dev container ARM container. The first thing I'm gonna install is UV. You can install UV with just a curl simple command. It's just a single binary. That's the beautiful of UV. Or you can also install it to pip. Once it is installed, we can see we have access to the command line UV. The first thing we're gonna do is init your project. We just do UV init and boom, that's it. We have bootstrapped all the files needed. So you see I have a Py project with the name of the project, the version, the current Python version, which is the Python version which is installed by default on this dev container 3.11. I like that it doesn't ask me multiple questions, that I can actually edit pretty quickly on the files. It's just work. So now if I want to run actually my hello.py file, I just do a new v run hello.py and that's it, I've run. And during this time, actually UV already created the virtual environment, activated and ran it. So you see, that's the thing, is that there isn't that much thing I need to think about when running certain things on Python. It will do it for me. So let's now add a couple of packages. So I'm gonna add DuckDB first. By the way, I'm on 4G here, so you might be a bit biased about the speeds. We'll do a test speed right after. So if I'm I'm going to the Pi project, you see that you've installed the latest version of DuckDB. Now you can also edit the dependency right there. So for example, if I had Pydantic, and let's say I'm going to edit my hello.py and do a simple Pydantic class, and then basically just invoking that class. So the fun fact is that you may think, okay, Mehdi, you need now to install your package, right? What we did, it basically added to the Pydantic, and now we start to use it. So let's run to see if it fails. So what is happening here? It works. Why it works? Because it actually installed the Pydantic package and then run it again in the virtual app. You see now that my IDE is recognizing Pydantic, which was not the case just before. So again, an example, I don't have to think of it. It just works. It just works. So let's talk a bit about the log file. So you see that I have a pyproject.yaml and a log file over there. The beauty of a log file is that no matter where is it created, here I'm a ARM macOS, it can run anywhere. Intel, Linux, whatever is your jam. And the second comment, you need to kind of know if you want to sync a project, we'll come that and test a full-fledged project, is just doing UV sync. Here my package already installed, so there is nothing to do. Now if you want to add dev dependency, let's say I want to have PyTest, you just flag it with dev, and you see now I have a dependency group which is dev, and it's a dependency groups. It's not just dev. So you are actually pretty flexible, and you can create other dependency group. Like for example, if you have a linter that you're only using locally but not on the CI, this is where the dependency group are really useful to only install some part of packages depending on your action. Again, speeding up things, reducing the time of the compute, and just the development workflow is going faster. All right, another thing which is insanely good is UV Python list. So here, if I type, you see, I can see the different Python version installed on the container. So actually in the container, there is in the system Python 3.9 installed here, and the Python 3.11 is pointed to the normal Python. So that's super great if you need to debug and you have a mess where you have installed Python with different ways. Just this command is already useful. So let's talk about how you can actually manage Python installation pretty quickly with also UV. And for that, I'm gonna just change the Python version file, which has been created during the init. So I'm on 3.11 right now, and let's say I want to be on bleeding edge 3.12. Of course, I have to change the dependency here. So now what about just doing a UV run hello.py, which is gonna run within the virtual environment on 3.11. And there you may say, but Mehdi, you're changing the Python version. What do you expect? That UV is gonna download the 3.12, replacing your virtual environment, activate it, and run your script? Well, actually, yes. So you see now is detecting 3.11, is downloading Python, is remove the virtual environment existing, creating the new one, installing the package, and boom, everything done in a couple of seconds. I guess you start to see the philosophy behind UV is really powerful for your development workflow, but also just for newcomers, like getting to know all the tools that you need to stick together just to make your first Python program is really painful. And the last thing I want to show you, yes, there is one more thing, is UVtool or UVX, because we are lazy. So we, shorten the comment. And UVX is going to install a library in an isolated place so that you can just run and execute it. And you don't need to install at all in your current project. So let's say actually I just want to format a given file here using RAF, which is also by Astral, by the way, and also blazingly fast. So let's take our hello.py. And so if I do UVX RAF format, for example, in hello, what is going to happen? Installing, running, and that's it. So I'm not polluting my current project, it's just install it separately and I can run it again. Another thing to mention about UV is workspace. So it's help you to manage different Python version and dependency within a big mono repo, for example. I haven't used these features really, but I think it's definitely worth to mention because some of you might be interested into that. So let's check a bit how fast UV is actually. So I actually copy all the dependency of a typical project I have, which has different, which I would say in terms of size, it kind of like medium. There is Pydantic, Pyro, dbt install. Yes, that's a lot of data stuff. So those can be heavy. So I think it's a good representation further down the Hello World projects, how much time UV is going to take to install that. And we'll do the same after with Poetry. So the only thing you need to do is a UV sync. So let's go. So we've installed 78 packages in 19 seconds. So now I have the same dependency with Poetry install, as you can see, and I'm just gonna do a Poetry install. I don't have any watch. So, all right, it's done. We have installed the whole project with the 78 packages. It went slower. That was expected, 33 seconds against 19 seconds. But as I say here, I'm on 4G, so I'm wondering if my network bandwidth is in any way limiting UV's performance. All right, so I try it again with a code space, like my internet connection is not really playing here as I just sending commands, and it's leveraging the cloud network. And as you can see here, I have the UV runtime for the same package list. It took a bit less than 6 seconds. And with Poetry, we are at 15 seconds. So still like an order of magnitude of 3 times faster. That is pretty impressive. So why does the speed matter? Well, the first one is actually saving money. Your time is money. And while we don't install packages constantly during development, CI pipelines do. So faster package installation means reduced compute time and lower cloud costs. And if the performance is 10 to 100 times faster and you have multiple builds happening on multiple projects, well, that's quite a lot of money you could potentially save. The second is security and virtual environment. I know virtual environments are more secure and it's a best practice, but often I felt like it's a necessary hurdle for me, especially when working on containers. Activating virtual environments, running extract commands, it was like, nah, with UV, everything is so fast and streamlined and that not anymore think about activating your virtual environment. It's just a built-in features that's there for you. All right, let's talk about some limitations and concerns. The first one is that yet another tool. Some might argue that UV is just another tool adding to the mess, but in reality, it consolidates multiple tools into one while shining in performance and in feature. The second one is that it's a VC-backed company, and that can raise some eyebrows. We've seen that in the past with other examples, with HashiCorp and others I would not mention. So yes, that's a risk, but as of today, they have a really permissive license, so let's stay positive and support the good work when we see it. The second thing I'm missing, and maybe it's gonna be already patched since this video has been published, I don't know, given the pace of features they've been shipping, is a command runner. You see, with other package manager like NPM and others, you can easily use them as a command runner for abstraction certain commands like builds or other stuff custom. Of course, you still have your beautiful makefile that I'll always use, but I think it would be nice and more lean to kind of like have this and, avoid a makefile when you have just the basic commands around test and others. All right, that's it for this video. I need to replace all my Poetry projects with UV, and hopefully you'll do the same. Take care of your Python, and I'll see you in the next one.